we're going to try to move into discussing population, a sampling frame, units of analysis, sampling guide, and sampling designs and types. So essentially today we will be talking about sampling strategies, which is one of the strategy for research. So that's basically what we'll be doing. So I'm looking forward to a very interactive session, because this really is the crux of research as well. But before I do that, let me check if any of you on this platform that we had quite long. So in the process, you may have had a lot, a lot that you feel that, you are stuck, or you had a breeze and you are quite excited about where you are at the moment, and you wanna just spend 2 minutes or thereabout sharing with us. Let's catch up.
So I think the subject today, according to me, it is in line with what I'm doing right now, because we will soon be sending the questionnaire to the people, and then very soon we'll be doing the sampling and all those things. So I am very excited. I just hope that I will be able to hear you, Professor, through and through, and that if I fail, I will have a copy of the recording. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear the questionnaire. How did you develop it? Share with us a little bit that excitement. Develop the design of the questionnaire. Do you want to share the experience?
Okay, there are a lot of samples, because we had taken the questionnaire that was done, okay, from the research papers. Then I put together those questions, and then I sent them to my the statistician to go through. After the statistician, I also sent it to the experts. I had some experts from UCT, others from those who were trained in Stellenbosch, and so they sent back to me, and then after that I sent it back to my supervisor. So I used what I can say, I used the questionnaires the questions that already existed, but I made sure that I cited all the questions depending on the parts that I had, because according to my my dissertation, it falls in different parts. So I took those questions from those other publications, and then I put them together according to my questions, and then I sent to the experts to validate and make sure that they are okay. So that's what I did.
Okay, that is now the process. But what is it about? What is when you say you send to experts? Who or what was the expertise that you were looking for?
Good question, Professor. The expertise that I was looking for, when you are traversing this big jungle of research, you are just a small person. There are a lot of rules in language. There are rules in how to put the questions to the people out there so that you don't infringe on people's rights. Like the first part of my questionnaire, it had they call it the demography, okay? So I had the name of a person, and in my first one, I had just put male and female, then I sent to the experts, but they brought it back to say, no, it is more than this. So they then told me that there are those who would like not to disclose, and there are those who are non-binary, and I was knowing those things for the first time. Yes. So those are the issues that they brought back, and then I had put them there. Then there were some parts where I could just put abbreviations. Then they brought also to say, no, you have to put the full, or you disclose the meaning of the abbreviation in the instructions so that people can know. So the validation was really valid, and it made a lot of sense. In the end, my questionnaire now looked professional.
Wow. What was the, if you don't mind, what are you researching on? What is your inquiry all about?
Okay, my inquiry is all about, I just want to retrieve my questionnaire so that I am as authentic as possible. I am doing IT, information technology. So I am looking at, you know, when we talk about compliance, okay, let me put it this way. In the places of work, there are people we call insiders. Those insiders are the people who are working in a company and then they disclose or they put the company at danger or in danger. So now what we did was we are researching, or like I am researching on the issues of insiders and how we can prevent them from exposing the information from inside the companies using using power bases, which means the types of leadership styles, but in this case, the power bases. So that's what I am researching on. So now, when I did that, I formulated the questions. I'm just checking the questionnaire quickly so that I can bring it up. So I created the questionnaire to put different spaces whereby we are going to send this questionnaire to the people in companies using LinkedIn. So when I send those questions, I must ask them about the relationship that they have with their leaders, and whether they are what kind of leaders. I want to extract that kind of information because amongst the leaders, like the power bases, there is what we call cohesive power base. So I'm going to check and find out whether the leaders in their places of work are cohesive. I will check if they are referent, if they are legit, those things are on my questionnaire. So when I'm asking them, I am trying to extract that information so that I can come up with, to link it to my hypothesis that I created.
So what is the hypothesis that you have created that you want to
Professor, yes,
disconfirm?
Yes, the hypothesis is that
your allegation?
Yes, my hypothesis is that one of the hypotheses is that power bases, for example, the power bases, when they are in combination with deterrent control measures, they can help in bringing down the issues of insider exposure of information to others. Because what we realized was that when people are at work, there are a lot of factors that make them to disclose the information to the outsiders. So now we find that this is a very big problem in companies. So they have tried a lot of things like deterrent measures. They've tried to put those stringent measures whereby they threaten people. But in my case, I realized that no, that method may not work. Why can't we use the power bases, the powers that the leaders already have, to use those power bases like cohesive, like referent power bases, to combine with the deterrent measures that are already there so that people can be compliant to the policies that are in companies. So my hypothesis is that when you combine the power bases with the deterrent control measures, there will be compliance to policies in companies.
Understood within the environment where you're conducting this research, right? I would take it.
Yes, yes, sir. I am targeting those people who are in the IT, who are IT personnel or IT experts, personnel to say, so to say. They can be desk, help desk people, they can be technicians, they can be maybe IT lecturers, they can, anyone who is familiar with IT, even in banks. Those are the people that I am targeting.
Okay, I was asking, what is then your units of analysis on the basis of what you've just said now? What would you say is your units of analysis?
Okay, those are the things that made me to come here. When I heard you in the previous post where you talked about the units of analysis. So now I want, because I know I did those, but I may not have understood them clearly. So that's why I am here, so that I can get that one clearly, and then I'll be able to link the dots to say, oh, these are my units of analysis. That one attracted me to join here. That's why you saw me, I was there first.
Okay. No, thanks for being kind. But let's first look at the population. Let's look at the population. We will come back to the module just now. So who's your population here? These are people working in the IT environment, right? You said.
Yes, these are my population. The people are working in the IT environment.
Am I muted? Which IT environments? I want you now to run me your population and your sample size, where you draw from the, from this population. So I work in an IT. Am I one of the people that you're going to talk to? Surely not.
Yes, I did not get. If I get, now that I know, I will definitely target you. I will send, because what I'll do.
No, I'm just saying in terms of your population now.
Yes, my population.
Population and then sampling.
Yes, my population are the people who are working in the IT industry. So what I did, I am going to target the people who are on LinkedIn, because that's the kind of a vehicle I'm going to use. So the population sample size will be 500. So I have, at the moment, I do have active contacts about 1,000. So my target is around 2,000, because from what I know, and the research is about 5% of maybe even less than that will be able to respond. So that's the target. So I need about 500 people to get to my to be able to give me the answers, or to get to the questionnaire and answer it for me. So that's the sample size.
So you are looking at those that are connected on LinkedIn to your profile.
Yes, only those that are connected to my profile. So what I'm doing, I am actually growing. I've grown my profile because I cannot go wider. I want, because there are things to do with the ethics. So I need
Yes.
to plan my work properly, so that it is protected. So I need those people whom I will write to, send to, after I am given the go ahead from the ethics committee, so that I send them my invitation letter to look at my things. So those who are going to accept, they accept, things like that. Then I will send them my questionnaire.
Okay. Maybe work with me on what we are trying to get to then. Okay, so now you've got, are you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying you've got 1,000 people that are connected to your LinkedIn, therefore that is your population? Is that correct?
Yes, that's my population. I'm going to target people who are linked to me. But it doesn't end there, because I am going to use also the snowball sampling method, whereby if I won't reach the 500 immediately or within a short period of time, then I will be adding to that using the snowball methodology, so that I can grow until I reach the 500 target.
Okay, so it's 1,000 is the population, 500 is the target. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
At the moment, I've got 1,000, but yes. I didn't hear you, Prof.
Okay. Is it 50%? Are you using the population as 50% of those that are connected to your LinkedIn profile?
Not really, because
I just want you to.
No, I want to grow my profile up to around 2,500. By the time I start.
So what does growing your profile has to do with the population where you need 500 and you now have 1,000?
Okay, no, the issue is when
in other words, I want you to make us understand. You've got, as we speak now, you've got 1,000 that are connected to your profile, and that is what you are targeting. And from there, you want to get 500. Why are you growing? Why are you talking about growing the profile?
Okay, from the plan that I had from the proposal, I want the sample to be 500. Okay, so I want the sample to be 500. Now, my plan is to, yes, my plan is to make, to target those people via my LinkedIn. Okay, there is some noise somewhere. Okay, so I need to get that sample via my LinkedIn connections. So now, at the moment, I am growing that connection. So I just disclosed to say there are 1,000 now. So I want to go as far as 2,500. By the time the go-ahead comes from the ethics committee, I wish to reach that 2,500. Yes.
Okay, tell me why. What I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to understand here, and again, just I understand the LinkedIn discussion. I think you have covered that. I understand the 500. You've covered that. I understand you've got the 1,000. I want to understand why. What is the remember the rationale of what we are discussing? Why do you want to grow the profile to more than 1,000 now? That's what I want you
to explain. Because
what is the rationale for you to grow the population from 1,000 to 1,000 to whatever the number you want now?
Yes, because research tells us.
I want you to explain to me why.
Yes, research tells us that when you are sending your questionnaire to people, it's around maybe 20% will respond. So if I get, say, 1,000, I may expect maybe 200 to respond, or even less. So if I get 1,000, and then my plan for the sample for my research to be authentic, I want at least 500. Then I must get a number that is more than that, because not everyone will respond to my.
Where do you
yes.
get? No, I want to argue that. No, I was asking the question as to if you've got a population of 1,000 and you're targeting a sample of 500, you get it on your questionnaire for 200 or 250. What is your argument? I want to hear your, and let the argument be empirical, not what you think. I want to hear you saying that. What is your discussion based on? You've got 1,000 is the total population. You're targeting 500 in terms of your question. You issue whatever the number of questionnaire. You get a return rate of 20% of what you've said. You're saying, what is the argument? I want to hear the argument.
Okay, according to research, like I said, according to research, when you get whatever population you want to get, if you want to get the sample of a certain number, you must target a number whose 2% or 20% will be the number that you want. So that is the rationale.
Okay, let's
So,
work. No, let's work on your look. Let's work on your 1,000 LinkedIn network that you have, and use that from research. Let me understand you. You've got 1,000 LinkedIn account that you are linked, that people that you are linked to is 1,000. Let's talk that. Let's start from there. You target 50%, I said.
okay. So if it is a
You want to
1,000,
target.
yes. If it is 1,000 and I target, for example, 2%, 20%, then it will be 200. It will be 200 people, 200 questionnaires that I will receive. And
Yes.
I won't be able to, according to the design that I had, I may not be able, my research may not be able to bring out a good backing depending on the sample that was taken. Hence, I was saying I have to grow to a larger number, say
But I don't agree.
2,500.
But we don't. Here in this platform, we don't agree with you.
Okay.
I still want to understand. We've got 1,000. Just work on with me on the numbers. Right? Don't debate yet, because I still want to get the motivation, and I'm using the language so that other students can just hear what you are discussing.
Yes. Yes.
I'm saying you've got 1,000, and you're already saying to me, unless if I'm missing your debate here, you've got 1,000 and you are going to sample 500. Did I hear you saying that's 50% of the population, right?
What I said was my target is 500. Let me put it clearly like that. My target is
It's
to
50%.
have
It's
a
50%.
sample of 500. Okay, but
I'm saying
that 500,
50%.
I cannot get it from 1,000.
Okay.
Hence, I have to grow my LinkedIn connections to a higher number.
No. Wait. No, wait. Let's do one question at a time. Answer me so that I then follow you. I'm saying
Okay.
is 1,000. If you work on 1,000, that's your total population. Is it a yes or is it a no? 1,000 is what you have at the moment.
I have 1,000 at the moment, yes.
So it's a yes.
Yes, I have 1,000
right?
at the moment.
Now you want to sample 500 from the 1,000, which is 50%. Is it a yes or is it a no?
It's a yes, though I know that it
Sampling
won't. Yes.
500. No. Remember what you know. It's something that we will discuss later. I just want to speculate with what you
Okay.
have. So
yes,
50% of 1,000. I mean, it's a fact of mathematics. 50% of 1,000 is 500, right?
Yes.
Now you are then saying to me that according to research, you will just have to bring that information back to us at some point.
Yes, sir.
You say according to research, if you want to get 50% of the population, you need to target 20%, which is
Yes,
200,
sir.
you say.
Yes, sir.
In other words, you are saying you are saying you are targeting, although you've got 1,000 and you're going to sample 500, you're rate on your sample. Are you talking 20% of 1,000, or is it 20% of the 500?
20% of 1,000.
So that means you're expecting out of the 500 that at least the minimum is a 200 will answer the questionnaire. Is that what you're saying?
Out of 1,000, yes.
So let's say now I understand you now. So you've got 1,000, which is the population. You sample 50%, and you get from the total population, which is the 1,000, you got 200. you're saying that is not sufficient according to research. Is that your argument?
No, it is sufficient. That is sufficient. But according to what I want, I don't want 200. I want 500. That the 20% to be 500. Then that 500, it means that for me to get the 20%, which is 500, I must have a total of people or targets which is more than 1,000.
Okay, I'm a little bit interested to this argument. So what is the population that we are talking about? Is it 1,000 or is it more than 1,000 that you have at the moment?
I have 1,000 at the moment.
But
so,
are you yeah, hold on. Are you then arguing that 1,000 is not a population size? So you go to a community, you get 1,000 people, you sample 50% of them, you administer questionnaire to the 50% of the 1,000, you get a return of 200, and you say that's not what you want.
Okay, let me put it this way. At the end of it all, I want to have 500 people who will have brought back the questionnaires to me, valid questionnaires.
Why is this number 500? Why is the 500 the number that is a magical number for you? Why are you thinking that when you've got 500, this is magic? This is what you want. I've got 1,000 people in my space. You sample 50%, but you want all 500. Why is 500 so important to you?
Okay, I mentioned 1,000 because those are the people that I have grown up to now, up to that. But my target is 2,500. So I just said at the moment I have 1,000. I've been growing. Not long ago they were 500. Now they are 1,000. So every week I am making about 300 people. So I am targeting 2,500 by the time the ethics committee clears my distribution of the questionnaire. I am targeting that by that time I will have 2,500. Then when I have those 2,500, I will send my questionnaire to all of them, and I am expecting that at least 500 may come back. And then when I push in other factors, maybe those that won't answer clearly and whatever, I may remain with something like maybe between 200 and 400. That is what I was saying.
Is your proposal that you have presented now having the population number fixed or not? In other words, did you say you are going to sample 50% of the 1,000, or you said you will sample as you go along?
I said I will sample. Okay, in my proposal, there is a number there, which is 500.
Yeah, but remember when I asked you about the magical 500, you're then moving to say you're growing. Because when you're growing, this is irrelevant to the research we are talking about. The growth is not related to the discussion we are having. What we are having is you've got 500 of the 1,000, and you expect at least at the minimum, or maybe not, to receive 200 returned questionnaires solid. So I'm saying, what is the problem with that argument? I want you to please indulge me there. Let's say you don't grow now. You're on 1,000. You are targeting 50% of the 1,000 in terms of your sampling, but then you expect that the return rate on your questionnaire would be 20% of the 1,000. What is wrong with that? Please indulge me on why is that not?
No, it's not wrong, Professor. I think you are putting sense in me. So I think it is okay, except I had put a number. Yeah, I had put that higher number. But according to what you are saying, I think it's okay. 200 would be okay. If at all I can receive 200, it will be okay. If it won't be, that's why I said it's a snowball sampling. So it will go until I reach that number, 200 or so.
But remember, snowball doesn't work. Well, we will get to snowball. We'll discuss snowballing when we discuss snowballing. When you are only going to snowball if you have not received the number that you wanted to receive. But at the moment, you've got the number.
Yes.
So that's what I want to understand. Why is 500 that you want such a magical number? What is the empirical answer that you can give to that? I want you to please convince me that 500 is what you are going to die for. Why?
Okay. I think you've already helped me there, Prof. That when I target 1,000 people, I sample 500. The 200, the 20% is the one that I will get. So if I get that, if I don't get the 200, the 20%, then I'll do the snowball like you are saying. If at all I miss to get that target, otherwise it is sufficient that when the ethics committee bring back the go ahead, then I will just go ahead and send that questionnaire because it has passed through the statisticians and the experts. So yeah, I think I don't have an answer to that, Prof. I was I think building castles in the air.
Okay. All right. No, it's okay. Let me hear what Roberta has to say about this a long conversation that we just had. Roberta, what is is it Rose? Rose, what do you think? What's your view? You do have a view.
It's difficult for me to have a view, Prof, now because I'm still at the proposal stage. So I'm just, the two of you are indulging me. I'm waiting for the final verdict and the reasoning behind. Am I audible? Oh, sorry.
What's your proposal about, Rose? Let's listen to you. Let's give you a second to just tell us. Yes, tell us what is it that your proposal is on.
The title for my proposal.
Yeah, title is important, but what is the interest? What is it that you are investigating or researching on?
Oh, I'm researching the effect of quality industrial revolution and quality management principles on organizational performance in a telecommunications business unit. So it's a two-on-one. It's a two-on-one. It's quality fourth industrial revolution and quality management principles, their effect on the organizational performance in a telecommunications business unit.
So two qualities or two, is it effect or quality? Repeat that. Is it the effect or is it the quality?
It's the effect of the quality fourth industrial revolution and quality management principles.
What does that mean?
The quality fourth industrial revolution is the application of quality on 4IR, which is the industrial revolution. So I'm looking at two constructs here, the quality management principles from the ISO 9001 standard, combining them with the quality fourth industrial revolution. I need to see their effect on organizational performance.
Do you think they do have effect though? Is that your allegation?
Yes, they do have an effect. However, in terms of the quality management principles, not all of them are applicable in this case. So it's the applicable quality management principles and the quality 4IR that I'm looking at their effect. In my view, there is an effect, but we will see when I get the response.
Okay. Are you intending to take which approach? Let's talk about two approaches. There's a qualitative, there's a quantitative, there's a mixed methods. Which one do you feel
I'm still researching.
Comfortable with?
At the moment,
I don't know what you're
researching. At the moment, it's the quantitative. at the moment, but I'm still asking myself why. I'm proving why I'm doing quantitative.
Okay. Let's see if we're going to be of any assistance to you. We might just be irrelevant in this context. But anyway, let's try. We'll try.
Thank you. Are we covering sampling here, or are we looking at the whole research proposal?
For now, we are going to look at for today, because I mean, remember, we have to take things by chunks and chunks. So for today, we'll try to see whether we can deal sufficiently with sampling related issues. But
Okay.
obviously, it's an open discussion. So it's not a classroom kind of teaching. So you're welcome to jump in anytime.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Now, let's just see if it's still visible on your side. Again, this is just a real revision that, for some of you, this might come down very boring. The engagement that I had with Mbunde, was just to see how he has put together this 7 steps of research. And this is what, Rose, you said you're busy with, the 7 steps of research. We did spend some time previously, but let's see if we can quickly rush through these steps. Again, I just want to remind you, for those of you who might be coming here for the first time, there is nothing wrong with you coming up with 5 steps, 4 steps, 3 steps, whatever. This is just the 7 steps that have been adapted from a particular author. So there can be a number of other authors that may come up with a different type of steps. However, the steps, as we understand them in a research proposal, will pretty much cover the areas that we are showing you. A research problem, which is the first thing that you are going to think about, or a research topic or an unanswered question. So you need in your brain and in your heart have an interest in something that you want to investigate. You must have something that is bothering you, or that you're concerned about, or that interests you, as a person you feel, what, I just find out more about it. And remember, with research, the more you research, the more you realize how little you know. So sometimes we tend to think that we know everything until we get into some research mode. We delve into discussion, then we realize, wow, I actually thought I know this, but now I realize I know very little. Then there is an issue around what is the aim, or what is the goal of research? In other words, what is it that you intend to achieve for the betterment of society or humankind or whatever? What is it that you aim to achieve with your research? You don't do research just for the fun of it. You do it for a number of reasons, one of which is that you solve problems, in society. Once you have then explain your aims and your objectives, we look at how much have you read about that problem, because the more you read and you immerse yourself with what other researchers like you might have done, the more you realize that you can also work around questionnaires. I mean, there was an area where, one of you said, I read a little bit about the questionnaires, and I then discovered that I need to improve my work. So that is part of literature review. The more you read, the more you improve the quality of what you are trying to research. Then you come up with research design. In research, a research design is a technical term that means a research plan. This plan, you laid out how you're going to collect data and how you're going to analyze data. So you put out a plan to say, this is how I'm going to collect data. I'm going to administer 1,000 questionnaires, and I'm expect 500 people return. If not, at least I can work out 200. That is part of the plan that you will have in your proposal. And once you've got that, then you move into what you call the collection of data. And here now you go out there, you collect data, because you already have a plan and instrument that you have developed, as we were earlier discussing, to do with a questionnaire. And remember, if data is collected and it's not analyzed, it's useless. I mean, you can't just collect data for the sake of collecting it. You need to find a way to analyze the data that you shall have collected just so that it makes sense and it's related to the problem or the sub-problem or the question that you're intending to answer. And that's what you call research report. Now you put it together as a research report for those that may want to read, to understand more about the phenomenon that you were researching on. And maybe for the sake of your studies, it's also a submission of a last chapter of the work that you shall have done, where you really, make suggestions of the findings, the recommendations, and your conclusions based on what you have established along the journey. So all this together, we call it's a research proposal. As we said, the steps are so iterative that you can move forward, you can come back, you can always almost move forward and backwards with it. Now, I just want us to now talk, before we get into something to each other, of these two important research concepts. One is called reliability, the other one is called validity. Please don't miss out on those two concepts. They are very, very important if you wanna do research that is going to be subjected to some kind of inquiry and debate and review and so on. Reliability has to do with whether the results of a study are responsible. So, for what it is. So if I say it is because of the training that you undergone that you have done better in the subject, that is something to do with reliability. So the results of your performance are as a result of the influence of you attending this tutorial, for example. So if we can actually convince ourselves that it is because of that, then we are talking reliability. We are saying it is therefore as a result of this work that Godfrey is doing that you are doing better. That's reliability. So it is whether a particular technique which applied repeatedly to the same object yields the same result each time. So every time we do it, we must get the same result. Every time we do this, we get the same result. That's reliability. So that is like we are sure that it is because of this that this is the result. So reliability generally is concerned with the questions of stability and consistency. So it's stable and it's consistent. If you're going to get load shedding every day between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and you know every day that this is what it's going to get, and it's stable for as long as we've got this amount of energy that is generated, that is almost moving to a stability and consistency. And therefore, we're talking about an ability to repeat. It's a repeatable activity that we say, even if somebody does it, you'll get the same result because the instrument is the same, the measurement there is the same. If I ask you, did you attend religious service last week? That would have a higher reliability than the question about how many times have you attended religious services. So in other words, if I say, did you go to church last week? It is more, I'm going to get the more reliable answer than if I ask you how many times you go to church, because you say approximately. But if I say, did you attend the church last week, you might actually either give me a yes or a no. So reliability criterion refers to the consistency of a measurement. That if the measurement is used repeatedly, it will then result in stable or consistent outcome. So consistency is a necessary condition for internal validity, but it is not necessarily a sufficient condition. So I just want you, ladies and gentlemen, to always remember that if you say it is because of the deterrence and the powers that we are talking about in Buddha, that this is the result, that is talking to reliability. Now, whilst on the other hand, validity, the extent to which empirical measure adequately reflects the real meaning of the concept. So if you say you are going to study the deterrence controls, you then have to study deterrence controls, not anything else. Because if you study anything else, then the validity becomes a measure that may not necessarily be achieved. So if you say I'm going to focus on IT people, and then we go into that and we find that you've also focused on people, not necessarily IT, it may as well be that you moved out of your scope. So the extent to which an empirical measure may adequately reflect the real meaning. So if you say you're going to do IT, it has to be IT. So validity measurement refers to the congruence between the operational definition and the concept it purports to measure. So for example, some people would say, I'm going to focus on the young people. Then we say, well, but how do you define a young person? If the young person is defined using age, then you're going to look at, have you only focused on those that you have defined using age, or you have now added gender and other elements that may not necessarily have been part of your operational definition? That is a validity measure. So the degree to which measure does what it intends to do. So if you say, this is what I'm going to do, you go out, you do what you're going to do, you use the instrument for which you said you're going to use. And if you use that instrument repeatedly, you might have achieved both validity and reliability. So validity is about producing credible and believable findings. That's what validity does. So for instance, an IQ would seem a more valid measure of your intelligence than the number of hours that you spend in the library. So your IQ can measure intelligence than how much time you spend in the library, because the amount of time that you spend in the library does not necessarily become a measure of your IQ. So that's just to differentiate between the two, validity and reliability. Before we move on to the next spectrum, any question? May I request that for our next transition, I don't see any, if there's any hand or somebody wants to speak, please do. Otherwise, I'm just going to request that we do a 3 minutes break, and then we talk about sampling and sampling strategies. Now, let's then move into the discussion that we just had now. Now, every research, doesn't really matter whether it's COVID research or testing of cholera in Amaskral, or it's anything, whether it's the war between Russia and or Ukraine, or whether it's BRICS discussions, whatever. Every research that anybody's going to do will have a population. Now, when we talk about a population, we mean a group usually of people about whom we want to draw conclusions. So if you study like what we just had earlier on IT, there is a population, so you have to have some kind of a collection of units of analysis. So the total collection of the units of analysis has become the population. You consider everything in that population first, but that is a population related, for which you are going to draw conclusions from. So if you are going to study BRICS, it may only be what about BRICS that you want to study. And once you have defined that, then the population will be in relation to that. So it is the universe of units, like you've got people, nations, cities, regions, firms, etc., from which the sample is to be selected. So a population is a term that sets boundaries on the study units. It refers to individuals who possess specific characteristics. So when you are going to study something, the first thing that you want to understand is, what is the population? When we ask you what is the population, we mean the group or the collection that you are interested in generalizing about. So all of you now in this platform, you may, by virtue of having submitted your proposal or submitting your proposal or thinking about your proposal, you're already thinking about the population because you're going to draw a sample from a population. Let's pause here. Let's pause here and talk slightly about one or two populations that you are busy with. I'm not going to do random selection because today, at least, you're going to be doing sampling, so we'll talk about random selection later. Let me just hear one or two of you. What is your population of your study? What did you focus on in your population? Anyone who wants to get to test their understanding of the population? Go ahead, Kanya, and go ahead. Is it Kanya or Kaya?
Oh, sorry. Yes. It's the same as Roberta. I'm using two devices in case one drops me in terms of the network. So on my side, I'm working on the quality for IR and quality management principles. I'm evaluating their effect on the organizational performance. One of the organizational performance measures that I'm looking at is the network performance, because I'm working on the telecommunications environment. So the sample that I'm targeting for evaluating the effect on the network performance will be the customers that are affected by the network availability. Secondly, the technicians that fix the faults if there's a network problem. Thirdly, the technicians that are monitoring the network 24/7 and they raise a flag if there's a problem. So I'm looking at 3 groups of technical people that are all affected by the network availability.
Okay, so how big is the population? What is the population size? Not the sample size, the population size.
Yeah, the population, I don't know yet. The population can be anything between 3,000 to 500. Between 500 and 3,000, it's somewhere there.
But you would agree that that's the first thing you should now establish, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, then again, we go to use, you've got people, let's just say your population is about people where you're going to draw a sample from. But you then have 3 different kind of people that you're going to target. And for the customers, what are you looking at? I mean, the customers, is it the customers for the network? And you're talking about internal or external customers? What are we talking about?
I'm talking customers from the same organization, but a different BU, business unit. So they're outside my business unit, but within my organization.
So it's internal customers.
Yes.
Is people who are working within the company, who are accessing the network from the, okay. Now
they need the network to do their operations. So if the network is not available.
So they need the network to service external customers, basically, some of them.
Yes.
So when you say in the telecommunication, then what is the topic about? Did you become specific about that, or it has to be, because it's when we are talking now that we are beginning to hear it's internal. You're looking at the network as it services the internal customers to enable external customers to receive the services.
Yes, I said within the telecommunications business unit.
Yeah, but then
I'm looking at the network performance.
How big is the telecommunication business unit? Are we looking at the telecommunication unit from Russia?
No.
Are we looking at those ones from Brazil?
No, we are looking at a South African organization.
Is the topic saying that?
No, I guess I must add it.
So how do I know who the telecommunication customers are? You need to be a bit more clearer. Remember from your topic, I need to know where to go. So are you looking at a particular, is it throughout the whole country, South Africa? Or
it's an organization that has a national footprint in South Africa.
Yes,
yes.
Yes, what I'm saying is that we're talking about telecommunication, right? Are you talking telecommunication?
Yes.
Now,
yes,
is it a
got a
particular
national
company?
Footprint.
Yeah, so maybe we need to
Yes.
be specific about the company so that I don't look at it and thinking, oh, that is SABC. And then you say, no, I'm not doing SABC. And then I'm thinking, oh, maybe that is Telkom. And again, it's like, no, that's not Telkom. So why is the discussion not specific? I hope you are
Okay.
following here.
Yes, I'm adding on my
You're following.
title.
Yes.
Yes,
Because,
I'm adding as we are talking.
I mean, I can take it and go to Northern Cape and look at that radio, what do they call it? The square radiometer square, the square there in the Northern Cape, sorry. And then you say, no, but I'm not doing Northern Cape. How am I supposed to know? How are we supposed to know that you are focusing on a particular? So a population is important. If I'm going to look at the population for Soweto, for example, then everybody will know that I'm not talking Davidton or I'm not talking Guguletu. So there's a focus area that we are looking at within the population. Therefore, when you look at the population of Soweto, we'll then say, is it the entire Soweto or is it particular? Now, when you narrow it down, even to say, well, I'm talking about Shawelo in Soweto, it's even better because then I'm not going to look at the entire Johannesburg. I'm not going to look at the entire Soweto. I'm going to look at a particular area. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
So when we talk about the population, we mean first be clear as to how big your population is. So if you are looking at the organization, you then need to say within organization Y. Because when you say within organization Y, some of the information that we are going to expect for you to do is to take us through the size and the scope of that organization, what it represents, what is meant to do. So in other words, you are going to have an introduction where you take as a researcher, you take your audience first to understand what your company is all about and how far and what is the scope of your coverage of your research, so that we look at what you call limitations and delimitations. Because when I'm going to say to you, but we did not do Davidton, then you are going to say, but I never said Davidton. But so you did not also not mention that you are excluding them. So limitations and delimitation is just to say, what is the scope of the work that you are going to cover? So that whoever reads your research knows that you are not going to be presenting a situation from India in terms of the telecommunication immediately. So that's important. I hope it helps.
Yes, it does a lot. Thank you.
Buddha, your hand was up, but I think was your hand up? Oh yeah. But before you do, let me listen to Nomhle.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Prof. We truly appreciate this workshop. So my understanding of population, I totally agree with you. So I'll just put in a little bit of a background of my proposal. It's actually in the infancy stages. So I'm in the adult education sector, and my research is focusing on the tracking and the tracing of beneficiaries of learnership. So for a specific SETA, or what we call a Sector Education and Training Authority. So my population specifically, it is, beneficiaries, or should I say learners who were on a learnership they've successfully completed. And I've also went as far deep as including certain criteria. For example, they should have completed between a specific year, for example, maybe from 2011 to 2021. And let me not say maybe, anyway, this is my intention. The qualification that I'm specifically focused on within that specific SETA is fairly new, less than 10 years accredited. So that's why I'm specifically even putting in certain criteria to say it has to include learners who have successfully completed between this time and that other and 2021. And when we look at the geographic, it's within the whole of South Africa, and how I am going to gather the data and so forth. It's through snowball, because yes, some of them I can still access, through the database from the SETA, but obviously others maybe through social media and so forth. So that is my targeted population. So with specific, criteria, they should have, qualified, within this industry. So that's how that's my understanding of, the criteria, very specific. And, there's even an exclusion, because if we look at the CETAs, there's quite a wide variety of qualifications, but I'm specifically focusing on the tracking and tracing of a specific qualification and those beneficiaries. Thank you. That is it from me.
Sure, Nomhle, you threw the spanner in the works. That's what that's what I can say. So let's start at the beginning. What is the period within which you're looking at this qualification?
Qualification from 2011, and specifically why I'm referring to 2011. That was when the qualification itself was properly accredited with a SAQA, that is the South African Qualifications Authority. So
okay, no, that makes sense. That makes sense from a theory, as to why you are going that route. So basically, you are saying, if there was any, is it learnership? You say, if there was
yes,
any person
yes.
who was placed on a learnership in a particular qualification, what qualification is this, if you don't mind?
No, it's fine. It's fine. So it's with the CHITA, which is the Chemical Industry Training Authority. So the actual qualification is the National Certificate in Pharmaceutical Sales Representative. So I'm
Correct.
only looking at those that underwent the learnership and successfully completed.
Yeah. Now you see what I'm trying to get to is that, okay, let's then take that and say these are the learnership. This is the qualification that started placing students or learners between 2011 to 2021. So that's a 10-year tracking period that you are talking about, right?
Correct.
Now that's a very interesting one. We'll talk about it, as we go along. But I just want to go back to population. So, assuming that they have been placed every single year over a 10-year period, you should have an idea of how many they are in terms of the population. So, in other words, it will be the number of those learners that were doing this qualification that were placed for learnership in the 10 years. What number will that be?
On average, when we look at over 10 years, probably close to 1,000 or so, because the
Right.
other challenge, Prof, is that there isn't a lot of service providers that offer this qualification. So that's why I'm, thumb sucking around 1,000 or so.
Yes, but obviously for you to develop a population, you're going to have to get that data from SETA as to the number of students that they've placed over the last 10 years, isn't it?
100% correct.
So they are going to say to you, from 2011, we placed 100, whatever the number. From 2012, this is the number. So you're going to have a number that runs up to 2021 for you to arrive at a total, because it is important for you to have a source of that number that you're working on. You would agree. So that then becomes your population size.
I agree. Yes, I hear you, Prof.
Yes. So if you say it's 1,000, that is going to be 1,000 of those learners that were placed between 2011 to 2021 through this SETA, and the source of that information will be whatever records from SETA, whatever information that they will be giving you. So that then becomes your total population. Then you start your tracing on the basis of that population, from that population. Alternatively, when you have got that population, then you may say, okay, are you going to trace all the 1,000, or you're going to sample the number that you're going to trace from the 1,000? Then that becomes a population and a sampling strategy that we are talking about. I hope it makes sense to you.
Yes, 100%. It does make sense. It does make sense.
Yeah. So for me, that is the first thing we need to agree on, is you need to get the population. So you need to get to a point where if anybody wants to know why is the population over the period of 10 years 1,000, you are able to say, is it based on placement on year 1, year 2, it's actually going to be a huge amount of rich data that you're going to receive, that you're going to work with. And to trace some of those ones is going to be a lot. I think it's another interesting study that you're going to do. You may find that as a result of what you are trying to do, then SETA comes to you and say, actually, we don't have reliable data. Is that not important for you? It will be.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
Yes, it will be, because basically what they are telling you is that we actually don't know how many students we have placed in the last 10 years. Therefore, we're just giving it to you. That's important, because that's what research also does. Sometimes it uncovers things that don't exist and you come up with solutions for them as well. But anyway, so that will be the population in the way that I would understand it. But you are welcome to engage, different sources on that. But for me, that is where I would go. That let's take 2011, and you said because the qualifications are relatively new, and then there are also not many opportunities for placement, you are conservatively looking at 1,000. Now, when you go to them and you validate the information, maybe you might be, accurate, or they may surprise you and actually have a most reliable database that can just excite you. Even there, that's okay, because at the end of the day, you are still at the population level and you want to move to the sampling level. Mbunda, I think your hand was up, but you can go ahead before we talk about the sampling frame. Okay, I can't hear you. Is it Mubinde? I can't hear you, but I think you have lowered your hand now. So let's proceed. Now, when you're going to do a population, when you know the population, again, I want to go back to your point on population. And I think also that might touch Kanya, your discussion. That then you have to have all elements. You list all units in the population from which the sample will be selected. For example, let's take the learnership issue. You're going to say, is it a woman learner? Is it a female? Is it male? Is age important? So you list everything that you've got in the population from what you already have, because that is called sampling frame. So the listing of all units in the population from which the sample will be selected. You first have to have everything there. Are they working? Are they not working? Do they come from what kind of communities? Is it villages, urban cities, and so on? As you list all that, it's going to give you a total frame that your sampling is going to be based on. So sampling frame is the list or is a quasi list of elements from which a probability sample is selected. So when you put everything in one basket, you are able to see the total population at the goal. Are they all from what kind of a class? Is it middle class, low income, high class, and so on? What kind of, you build all those into your population frame. So that list of units composing a population from which a sample is selected is what we call a sampling frame. If the sample is to be representative of the population, it is essential that the sampling frame include all members of the population. So in other words, if you are going to study, you want to generalize on the issue of learnership, then you need to look at the learner or the learnership in totality, so that when you generalize, you have looked at every element of the learnership that you are talking about. So a sampling frame is very, very important. How many of you have done a sampling frame when you are sampling? And how did you do it if you have done it? Does it make sense, a sampling frame to you, Jablan?
I don't know. Yes, it does make sense. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was still following you, and all of a sudden, it's, I
All
do
of a sudden, I
understand.
throw you with a question.
Yeah.
No, I
I
want
was
to
still,
know.
I was still,
Yeah.
I was still interested. I was still interested because when you were talking about units of analysis, uh, my study is about 2 community radio stations. The population is
Okay.
not so. The population is not so big. So the population is not so big. So the units of analysis and artifacts sometimes confuse me a bit. Sometimes I get them right, sometimes they confuse me. I don't know why. Yeah.
How big? You said the
The
population is
sampling
not
frame.
just the population because we want to develop a frame.
No, the population is about uh, eight from each radio station.
It's about what? Repeat that.
Eight,
It's about
16 divided by 2. 8 from the 2 different community radio stations.
what is the total? Why are we dividing?
16. 8 and 8.
So the total population is 16.
Yes.
Okay.
From the
Now,
2 community radio stations.
okay. I want first to look at the population. You say 16.
Yes.
Is it people? What is this 16?
16 people.
What is 16? Is it individuals?
I'm going to interview from the management, the ordinary journalists,
In total.
The journalists of the 2 radio stations, and maybe marketing team
Okay,
or advertising.
So are we talking about
team? Hey, you are not audible. You are cutting.
Let's break for me the 16. Who makes the 16? What is the 16 made up of? What is made up of?
It's made up of
asking what is this 16?
It's made directors, management, as in the CEO of the radio station, or journalists, in the marketing department, marketing and advertising department. It's made those from each different radio station.
Okay, that will be now the career and the occupations. What about gender?
No, I wouldn't be concentrating too much on the gender.
No, I'm not saying you are. But no, I'm not. I think what I'm trying to say is that you have even made the occupation. You now have to remember we are developing a sampling frame. So how many will be male, female, and that's what I'm asking now. You don't have to be exact. I want to demonstrate the sampling frame concept.
Okay, maybe I would say 3 females on one side, 3 females on the other side, 5 males and 5 males. Depending on the personnel of the 2 radio stations.
No, I'm asking you, what are the other demographic characteristics that you can put in this 16 persons? What are the other elements that you can add? I mean, we just add now gender. You said it can be 5, 5, 3, 3.
3 females, 3 females,
can be
5 females, 5 males, 5 males. Yeah.
Yeah, that will be the gender. That will be the gender distribution.
Yes.
What are the other elements?
I thought that would have been enough because I'm taking from the management, from the board of directors, from the journalists, senior journalists, and junior journalists, and then the marketing and the advertising stuff.
Yes, I'm saying that's the occupation part. Then there was a gender part. So there's an occupation
Yes.
or career. Then there's a gender. I'm looking at what are the other elements that you can define this population. Because remember, you are not sampling, you have not sampled yet. You're just listing.
Yes. Oh, okay. I think maybe I haven't thought about them. I'm not sure. No, no, I think I haven't thought about that. Maybe you can help on that.
Perhaps
Score.
there is, we can also look at the issues around age. How old are they?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yes,
I'm looking
yes,
at
yes.
the
Thanks for
demographic. I'm
that.
looking at demographic. I'm looking at demographic information before you sample, like just listing everything that is
And
known to you.
and the other thing is, one radio station is completely white, and the other one is completely African people. That's
You see,
what
you
I'm
can also
also
look at
going
now.
to be looking at.
Yeah, so you can also look at the race
Yeah.
classification to say how many white, and then there's that which is black. You can look at age. Does it make? Are you following? Is it making sense?
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
now you
It
first,
does a lot.
when you talk about sampling frame, we mean list everything else in the population before you actually sample.
Okay, okay, okay.
Does it make
Yes,
sense? So in other words, you then pick and choose whether you want to take the CEOs, all of them, or it's one sufficient because it's a representative of the population or something like that. So a sampling
yes.
frame, the reason
That's
what I
what.
was trying to explain is what a sampling frame is about is you put together all that which define the population before you select your sample from the population, if it makes sense.
Yes, yes, yes. No, I get you. I get you. Actually, you clarified something that I had not thought about.
Okay. No, that's why I was interested when you say you are done as to how done now when we are still having this conversation.
Thank you, Prof. I just need to find out, as part of demographics, can one add the number of years experience? Because I'm doing
Yes,
a comparative study.
yes, you can. It's
Oh,
actually in your sampling frame, you can also look at the experience and say maybe 0 to 5, for example, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, that kind of a situation. So for selection purposes. Because some people may appear, you might have a lot of people that have got a certain number of years of experience, and they may be linked to age, and they may link to gender, that kind of a situation. I hope it makes sense.
okay, thank you.
You actually can. Okay, let's look at the units of analysis just to try to see if we can wrap up, unless if there is somebody that also wanted to just clarify themselves at this time. I don't see anyone. So I'm going to go to the units of analysis. We spoke about it earlier. And again, once you now have the population and you now have the sampling frame, in other words, you've listed all the elements and the characteristics. Now you can come up with your units of analysis, which are elements or members of the population, whether individuals or groups or organization or events or artifacts. So it can be like the incident where you were saying that you are doing learners. So the learners over the period of 10 years. Now the 10-year period is also one of your units of analysis. So you're not looking at learnership before 2011, and you are not looking at learnership after 2021. So there's a clear delineation of the period that you are studying. So in other words, the what or the who that you are being studied is what we call the units of analysis. If you are going to be studying the IT in a particular period and in a particular company within a particular time, that becomes your unit of analysis. That is the basis upon your conclusion, and your study is focusing on that. That is like saying, what is your target? Who are you targeting, or what are you targeting? If you are dealing with cholera, for example, as a bacterial disease, what you will be studying will be the cause of cholera in a particular community in a particular time. So basically, you are looking at a bacteria that has brought about cholera in a particular community. So you are studying that community, and therefore the testing of the water. You are not going to test water in Gqeberha when the cholera is in Hammanskraal. It might not necessarily be the case, but you are going to really focus on the totality of the water situation in a community of Hammanskraal. So the water situation, or whatever that you are testing in Hammanskraal, becomes your population, and you're sampling from there. You're not going to sample outside the Hammanskraal community to study, cholera. That's not how the units of analysis work. So units of analysis are those things that we examine in order to create a summary description of all such units. So we want to understand the cause of cholera in a particular community. Therefore, we look at all those units, I mean, the population where we draw the sample from the community, in order for us to zero onto the problem in a community. So that's what the unit of analysis is. So when you give us findings, you are giving us findings in relation to that community. Then when the next thing we look at is what you call a sample guide. These are just guides. So they will guide you. We're just guiding you on how to select the sample size, which we'll refer to by the symbol capital N. Earlier on, Mubinda and I were having a discussion on this sample guide, because he was talking about 1,000 and a 500 and a 20%. Now, maybe we can look at this to see if we can have a discussion. For smaller populations, for instance, where a population is 100 or fewer, there is little point in sampling survey. So you can work on the whole population. So in other words, where you are going to work on a population of 100 or less, there's actually no reason why you should not survey the entire population of 100. But then if the population size is around 500, give or take, you can have 100, 50% should be sampled. So if you've got, say, for example, 500 people in a particular community, there's nothing wrong in you sampling 50% of that population. That means, 100 or 250 people can be sampled. If then the population size is around 1,500, remember, this is the debate we had, Mubinda, I hope you are watching now, because you're saying research says something. Here is my research. It says if you've got a population size that is around 1,000, 1,500, you are welcome to work on the 20% of that population. And then beyond a certain point, say about 5,000, as the population size, that then becomes the population size, it becomes irrelevant, and a sample size of 400 will be adequate. So if you've got more than 5,000, you can work on 400, because then the size of the sample becomes irrelevant. Is it making sense to you, Mubinde? I want you to indulge me on this one, because you were arguing your
Yes.
your point quite vociferously earlier.
Yes, Prof. I just wanted to repeat what you said. You said if the sample size is less than 5,000, what did you just say? I missed you there.
If the population, are you able to see the slide?
Yeah, though I'm in the car, I'm using the phone. I can't see
clearly.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I'm saying if the population is 500, you can sample 50% of that population. But if the size is 1,005, for example, you can go 20%. of the sample. And if you are going beyond 5,000, really, the sample size becomes irrelevant, but you can still go 400 as the sample size.
Okay, so this information I can find the backing, the reference if I check, not so.
Yes, I mean, the reference are in the. I'll also try to give reference at the end because this is going to be made available. But you can start. The point is not to use only one reference. You can go other references. The point for me is that 20% is a reasonable, is an acceptable measure of any study if you are looking at remember, it's about whether you are looking at quantitative study. But if you are not looking at quantitative study, you are looking at both quantitative and qualitative. Numbers don't matter per se. So if your study is qualitative, it doesn't matter what the number is. It's qualitative. So from what I'm hearing is that you seem to be excited by quantitative study than qualitative.
Yes, what I'm looking at is quantitative. So now, Prof, for example, if I choose any study, are there guidelines that will prompt me to choose a certain sample number or sample size? Then the other question is, what you are mentioning something very interesting. You are talking about the population, the sample size, and then the sample itself. So I want you, when you answer, to clarify those issues for me. Thank you, Prof.
I'm saying the sample, every study that you are going to do is going to have a sample, a population. And if you are doing a quantitative study, numbers will be important. But if your study is qualitative, a number is irrelevant because that's the difference between qualitative and quantitative. But again, for every population, a 20% is acceptable for any study. So I don't know what sample sizes you will be working on, but if you can work on 20%, it's an acceptable percentage for studies. Now I'm going to go now to the representative sample after we have given each other the sample guide. This is very important as a principle in research, ladies and gentlemen. A representative sample. A representative sample is that sample that reflects the population accurately. I always use the example of the guys that are selling oranges. You know, when you, in the middle of some winter, when you move around and you see people selling oranges, you know, they take one out of the sack, they chop it up into some pieces, and they want you to taste it. And when you do, what are they doing? They're giving you a representative sample of the whole sack. So meaning, if you like what you are tasting on as a sample, they then say, this is what you are buying. You know, when you go to some shops, you know, they put those samples, they say, taste this coffee, and if you like it, you buy it. The totality of what you're buying is that. That is representative sampling. So when you've got a sample that is representative, it means it reflects the population accurately. The reason why you have to do a sampling frame, really, is to assist you to sample the population accurately. You know, how old are the people that you are sampling? Is the all ages represented? Are all races represented? Somebody said the experiences, are all the experiences taken care of? If all that is taken care of in your sample, you are more likely to have a representative sample. And a representative sample, when done, it means it's accurate. I hope the example of an orange or the coffees or the wines in some of the stores makes sense, because a wine, when you taste it, is a representative of the totality of what is in the bottle. So when you buy the whole bottle, you're probably buying what you have tasted as a sample. Now they say have a taste, but actually what they mean is this is a sample. It's a sample of a population of the entire bottle, or it's a sample of the totality of the sack of the oranges, whatever you can think about right now. So if you don't understand a representative sample, just use those kind of examples. I'm sure they will make you look at it visually. If you want to generalize findings to the whole population, you need a representative sample. So in other words, if you want to tell me that all foreigners are criminals, you must have sampled a representative, you must have drawn a representative sample of the foreign nationals. Then you are able to generalize. If you have not done so, you can't generalize. You can't generalize all women or all UNISA students are like this, unless you have had a representative sample of the student. But it's very easy for us as people to generalize, even when we have not looked at the representative sample for that matter. So a sample is a representative of the population from which it is selected if its aggregate characteristics closely approximate those same characteristics in the population. So when I look at your sample, just if I look at your sample, I must see the entire population represented. So in other words, you're seeing your sample, I must be able to say your sample looks like your population. So when you make conclusion on your sample, you are then likely to generalize the population because it's representative of everything else that is in the population. So representativeness is enhanced by probability sampling and provides for generalizability and the use of the inferential statistics. So if you want to generalize, the sampling strategy that you are going to use will be probability sampling. I'm going to pause here and allow for interaction before we break for the day. But I want you to tell me whether this is making sense or it does not make sense, and where are you struggling generally with the work that you are doing now.
Hi, Prof.
Any comment? I see.
Jablani.
Yes, Jablan, go ahead.
Yes. Interestingly, when you talk about these things, they sound very simple rather than when I'm reading them. They sound so simple, and I'm wondering why sometimes they confuse me like this. And I and I like the simple analogy of an orange, example of an orange, that if you cut it, it is representative of the whole bag of oranges, not just that orange. Yeah, it sounds so easy when I'm listening to you. I don't know why I get confused sometimes when I'm doing it myself. Thanks very much.
I'm glad. I'm glad you are moving towards understanding this to be simple. And if you can adopt that attitude, you're going to realize that these technical concepts can be simplified in the way that you are simplifying them for me. Thank you for that. Kanya?
Yes, Prof. Can you please simplify the probability sampling?
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see if you can do it in 2 seconds. Let's try. Let me go to probability sampling. I was defining. You got two types of samplings, in research: probability and non-probability. So, for your sake, and again, I'm not going to do justice to this, but let's see. So, probability sampling is that sample that has been chosen using random, so that each unit in the population has a known chance of being selected. So, in other words, if I come to your community now, everybody stands a chance to be selected because I'm just going to randomly sample. I see it also a lot in meetings. When we sit in meetings, and I'm going to confuse you, and please, if you're confused, we'll have a second bite to this discussion. We sit in and people say, well, we want to divide ourselves into groups. There's 30 of us in here and they want 3 groups. sometimes what I see people doing is that they then say, okay, look, let's start counting. What do they do? 1, 2, 3, for example. You've seen that, have you not?
Okay,
Kanye,
I'm with you,
still
Prof.
there?
It rings a bell. I remember from stats now. Thank you. I just had
Are
a
you-
mental block for a few seconds when you said.
So what they do, everybody has. Oh, oh yes, please go ahead. I'm saying there's 100 in a room. We are all 100 in a room. Now we
Prof,
want
it
to
seems
divide
like you are
ourselves
breaking a
into
bit.
groups.
If
Sorry,
you can
I
move.
lost you, Kanye. Sorry.
Oh yes, I
think you
can
lost.
hear you now.
Oh, you can. All right. I'm saying
Yes.
if you've got we are 50 in a room, and now what is the probability that you will be selected to participate in group 1 when you don't know how the group are going to be selected? Very high, right?
Yes.
So now we are seated in a group. You did not sit as a number 1 or number 2 or number 3. Now we decide, okay, you know what? We're actually just going to select each other and we want 3 groups. So all now we start counting 1, 2, 3, all 3s together, all 2s together, all 1s together. So that's probability sampling. You did not come in knowing that you are going to belong to group 1 or group 2 or group 3. Does it make sense to you?
Yes, Prof. It makes perfect sense. Thank you.
So that's that. I'll leave it at that for now, so that when we start discussing probability and non-probability, then we clear. But if I say only those people who are wearing red today, not EFF red, but all those people who are wearing red are actually going to enter. Now, what are the chances of those people who are not wearing red entering?
0.
It's almost 0. So that's non-probability. So if you are not wearing red, you know you're not going to enter. So only those that are wearing, so that's non-probability. So I'm saying we will discuss the probability and the non-probability sampling, in our next session. But today I just wanted you to understand the population and the sampling frame and the sampling guide. That you need to work on that how big is the population and how then big will be your sample size and how do you arrive at the sampling. So that at least when we then say, okay, now you can do probability or you can do non-probability or you do both. What exactly are you doing? I'm going to pause here